20.42. This is not going to work because it's trying to do a telnet to port 23. Port 23, I don't have a mapping for. Remember, I had changed the mapping for 23 to 2399. So I need to telnet to 20.42 for port number 2399. When it does that, then it's going to translate it to port 23 for this particular IP. So let's see if it works. It will not. It's going to time out, and once it times out, I'll do it to the right port number. This adds another level of security in the sense that the person that's coming in from the outside, if it's not a public type of server, you can add this extra level of security. This is called port redirection. Everybody okay with that? So that took care of static path. Now for manual NAT, let me see if I can pull a diagram for this. Yeah. Let's do this diagram over here. This is manual NAT, also referred to as Policy NAT or manual NAT. What is this? To give you an example, I had a server, server 1, whose IP address was 10.11.11.11. As an example, this server needed to access server 1 and server 2 over here behind these two partner networks, some database servers that they have, DB1 and DB2. Everybody following along? Now the issue over here was that the other company that owned DB1 had a firewall in the front. So they asked you, hey, listen, when you come in from S1 towards my server, please tell me what your IP address is so I can punch a hole in my ACL. So what you ended up doing, you said, okay, I'm going to assign this server 1, 192.1.20. Let's say, actually take that back, sorry. I did it the other way around. I had server 1 and 2. Okay, I had server 1 and 2. Server 1 needed to access DB1. Server 2 needed to access DB2. But as you guys can see, both those servers have firewalls in front of them. So they contacted you and they told you, please tell me your IP address so I can punch a hole to allow your server to access my database server. So what I did was I statically translated server 1 to 192.1.20. Let's say 36, and I translated server 2 to 192.1.20.37. And I told DB1, hey, listen, go ahead and punch a hole for 192.1.20.36. And I told DB2, please punch in a hole for server 2, which is my statically translated address. Everybody follow so far, guys. Everybody understand that. So when this flow is taking place, server 1 will be translated as this guy. Server 2 will be translated as this guy, and the ACL will allow it. Everything is working fine. But what you decided to do next is that you said, what I want to do is I want to get rid of these two separate servers, get a bigger server, and consolidate the capabilities of the two boxes into a single box with a single IP, 10.11.11.13. Now, if I go in and translate server 3 to 10.11.11.13, I don't have server 1 and server 2. 10.11.11.13 needs to access what? DB1 and DB2. His ACL is allowing 20.36. His ACL is allowing 37. I cannot translate the same IP normally to what? To public IPs. It's not port-based, it's based on flows. This is where policy-based NAT takes place. Also referred to as manual NAT. In this type of NAT, what I do is I define that whenever traffic is going from 10, 11, 11, 13 in our case, towards, let's say, the first server, server 1, please change this guy to 36. So I'm not looking at just the source address. I'm looking at both source and destination. If this flow is true, then my source will change to this guy. And I'll create a separate entry with the same source IP, but the destination is 2. If that's the flow, I want you guys to change it to 20.37. So the same internal IP. This guy is the same internal IP. When it goes towards server 1, it will be translated to this guy. When this guy goes towards server 2, it will be translated to that guy. Hence, the word policy, translating based on policies. Everybody okay with that? Yeah? So how do I do this? How do I accomplish this? Let's take a look. Number 15, configuring. This is called Policy NAT, also referred to as manual NAT. Normally, when translation is taking place, the firewall looks at either the source or the destination IP address in the packet to match for NAT entries. Policy NAT allows you the ability to match a flow to perform NAT logs. Okay, how do I do it? Before I do that, this is also referred to as manual NAT. Manual NAT has the highest priority in case of a conflict. All right, so if there's a normal NAT happening and policy NAT happening, the policy NAT takes preference. So this is your write-up requirement. R1 should be translated. R1 is in 10.11.11.1. Should be translated to 192.1.20.36 when it is communicating to 199.111, and I'll say R1 should be translated to 37 when it's communicating to 200. That's my requirement. Don't forget that you already have the normal dynamic NAT for the network 10.11.11.0 for the pool from 192.20.51 through 20.200. So I already have 10.11, 10.11.11.1 that can be translated to that pool, but I want this to take preference. So I'll do policy NAT for this. How do I do it? Configuration. Step 1, create an object for each IP that will be used. What are the different IPs that I'll be using? I'll say R1 host 10.11.11.1. I'm going to be using an object network. Let's say host D1, destination 1, which is going to be 199.111. I'm also going to create an object called D2, host 200.111, destination 2. And then I'm going to change them. What are the two changes that I'm going to do? Call it X1, translation 1, which is going to be host. All the addresses that are going to be involved, I need to write them. I'll show you how I use them. So I want to have a source of what? 10.11.11.1 translated to this guy if the destination is, and I want this guy to be translated, same source IP to be translated to this guy if the destination is this one. So I call this D1, I call this D2, I call this translation 1, translation 2. This is my source, I called it R1. So the first thing that I need to do is create these objects. Once I've created that, step 2, create the manual / policy NAT entries to define the translations based on the flow. The way it goes, NAT inside globally. I don't need to do it under an object. Say NAT inside source, NAT inside comma outside, so traffic originating from inside to outside. Source, I'm going to define it statically. If the source is R1, change it to X1. If the source is R1, which is this guy, change the source to what? X1. But only if the condition is met. What's the condition? I haven't written the condition yet. If the destination static is D1. If the destination is D1, which is what? This guy. So if R1 is going towards what? D1, let's do it in blue. If R1 is going to D1, that means if the packet looks like this, if that's a match, then I'm going to change the source from R1 to DX1. What is X1? 36. How about the destination? I don't want to change the destination. Generally, I don't. So I'll just say D1. So I'm not changing the destination. I put the destination back in. Similarly, I'm going to create another NAT. Source, static, R1, change it to X2. When? When the destination is D2. Don't change the destination itself because I don't care about them. I need to keep their addresses as is. So I'm not really changing them, but I'm changing my R1 to X1. The source is changing to X1 or X2 based on where it's going. So let's go ahead and do that. See if it works. Let me do a before and after. I'll tell that to 199.111. I'm in. What's my address? 20.195. Exit. Try to do it to 200. I'm in. Show users. I'm still what? 20.195. So I'm using the same address each time I'm going out from R1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the policy NAT. Let's take a look at what happens after this. Done. Now I'll do the same 199. Show users. Who's logged in? 20.36, because I'm going from router 1 to 199. My translation is to 20.36. And at the same time, if I try to do 200.111, my address is 37. So based on the flow, I'm doing the translation. What is this called? Policy NAT or manual NAT. Clear? You guys okay with this? This is your manual NAT. Now, another thing that you can also do over here, I want you guys to see that, is all the object NATs that I've done in the past. NAT exemption can be accomplished the same way, but NAT exemption is basically when I translate myself to myself. I'm not doing that. I'm actually translating myself to a different address. But I can use the same mechanism to do NAT exemption. Does that make sense, Gustavo? So if I had changed R1 to itself, that would have been NAT exemption, or identity NAT is another word for it. But I didn't do that. I did a policy NAT. So now over here, I want you guys to see this. If I do NAT details, notice the two NATs that I did, the policy NATs, they go into a portion called section 1 portion. I told you policy NAT has a preference over what? The normal NATs. The normal NATs are called auto NATs. What I just did at the end is manual NAT. So manual NAT gets put into its own section called section 1. Has a priority over what? Auto NAT. All the other NATs that I did come into the second category. Understood, guys?